Liss, it feels like every year we're asking ourselves the same question, and it probably doesn't really matter, but trying to figure out what the best draft slot is something that I hear talked about in a lot of fantasy circles. And it's, everyone's got a different answer. I know you've been looking over some ADP in your newest article on Real Man Sports. What do you think right now at first pass? We're only, in the first part of draft season. Do you think is going to line up to be the best spot?
So I initially thought like third, because I thought if you get one of Chase, Gibbs, and
Gibbs
Robinson, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs.
You have him as a top 3 pick?
Yeah, well, that's the ADP. The ADP goes Chase, then and then Bijan, and then Gibbs. Barkley.
Oh my
6.
God, I wouldn't take Gibbs until like pick 8. But and for another discussion, keep going.
You obviously didn't have Gibbs last year. Then
I did, but with no Montgomery. Now he's back with Montgomery.
I mean,
he's a first round pick.
I mean, I think he does everything, catches passes. When the ball's in his hands, he's the most dangerous guy in the league.
Peak Alvin Kamara.
Peak Alvin Kamara, right? Yeah. With Mark Ingram there, who cares, right?
Right.
And he's young, and he's on a great team with a great offensive line. It's just
we'll get back situation.
To it. Okay, but anyway, so I wanted, whichever of those 3 is available, I would be happy to take. And then of course you get a slightly earlier pick on the way back. But then I started looking at it, and I think we talked about this the last podcast. I kind of like AJ Brown in round 2 in the middle, and I like Bowers. You might not like him, but I think he's got a chance to catch 120 passes, and 10 touchdowns as a tight end. And so I don't really like those guys at the end of the second round. I think they're kind of bad. Like the
Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, T.
Higgins, Chase Brown. I don't like those guys. So, then I was like CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown are super boring, but I feel like those are like the sharp picks. Like I don't know what the sharps, whoever those guys are, think, but it would be like, look, if CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown are healthy, they're going to catch 100 minimum, and they're going to get 1,300 yards minimum, and they're going to get 8 or 10 touchdowns minimum. And that is just like, okay, you just bank that. And of course, like there's a chance that, one of them catches 135 balls like CeeDee Lamb did a couple of years ago, right? I mean, they could easily do that. So you could take one of those guys, get a middle slot, and then get AJ Brown or Bowers in round 2 for sure. So I think you can go either way on that. And then the end of the first round, you get 2 really, you could get like Drake London and Brian Thomas at the turn, which is also really good. So I feel like I don't want one because I actually like some of the receivers later, so I don't mind taking running back for my first pick. I looked at it a little more, and so 3 is as good as 1 for me. And then after that, I may as well drop down to the middle, and then after that, maybe 11 or something.
Yeah, I agree with you that like Bijan, he's probably the second best player after Chase to take. But here's where draft structure. I've done a gazillion drafts so far. Probably like 50 or 60 best balls, which by the way, that used to be a lot. It's like, that's laughed out of the room now. These people do 150, 250. I mean, it's crazy. But I've been passing on Bijan because I do like the running backs on the 2-3 turn way more than I like the receivers. So I've been taking Jefferson or Lamb at 2-3, knowing that it's not the better pick. So I'm thinking as we get into like high stakes NFFC drafting, home league drafting, because I don't mind taking Breece Hall, Kyren Williams, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs on that 2-3 turn, hitting 2 running backs. Whereas, if you take Bijan, then you're almost forced into taking receivers that don't deserve to be in the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, I hear you. I like some of the receivers later. Like I remember I had that draft where you didn't like it and it turned out to be a bad team, but McCaffrey got hurt right after I drafted him. But, I had like McCaffrey and I had Devin A-Chain as my second pick. And then I had Laporta and Stroud pretty early, and it was just a bad team. But you were like, the structure is bad because your receivers, I had like Stephon Diggs was my first receiver. But I had like the guys I got later were like Rashid Shaheed, who was lighting it up, Cortland Sutton, who was lighting it up. It was like I hit on Ladd McConkey. Like those guys were all on my team. So I feel like the same thing this year. Like, of course, if you miss the running backs and the QB and tight end you took early, it doesn't really matter what the receivers do. But like I like Rome Odunze at the 5-6 turn. I like Calvin Ridley at the 5-6 turn. I like a bunch of the receivers later. And so I don't really mind, like, if I had to take, say I took Bijan or Gibbs, and then I said, okay, I'll take Breece Hall in round 2. And then no big deal, right? And so, yeah, you're not supposed to start off 2 running backs. I don't care. I like some of the receivers later on.
Yeah, by the way, I'm with you, Breece Hall in the 2-3 turn. If you look at all ADPs, like I got laughed out of the room when I took him at pick 22 in a draft. He is like pick 34. His high, I guess his high and low in the last 2 weeks on NFFC is 25.46. So, I mean, for another day, for another discussion, but let's go back to this draft structure thing. I also agree with you here, but different players.
Let me pull up my article so I can look at the ADP also.
Yeah. I like some of the mid-round guys, Jalen Waddle. I like Marvin Harrison in the 3rd round. Again, it does player-centric take stuff is fine. Like, I don't even care about it that much. We'll have some of those, but it's really the structure stuff. And I'm taking this right out of the Chris Liss playbook. I've been echoing this for the last 5 years since I've heard you say it, is that let's say you draft like, a Moore Nabers and he has 2-3 bad, modest games. You're not going to have the conviction to keep him in your lineup, whereas you would, some of the top 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 receivers. You'll ride Jefferson, Lamb through those bad weeks, and there's no way you're doing that with Jalen Waddle if he gets 3 for 38 and 4 for 41.
Yeah, you could make some errors and leave him on the bench, or you could keep him in too long and he doesn't do anything. And it's less likely that that someone early on is going to, Justin Jefferson, if he's healthy, is just not going to go 4 weeks without getting 50 yards. But it is sort of a negative of taking the running backs early. But Odunze was a top 10 pick, and he's in the 2nd year, and he showed something in the second half of last year, and Keenan Allen's gone. So
I'm with you there on the player tape.
I mean, it's just like, they're going to feed him the ball. Like they paid up the draft capital to get this guy, and now he's got the experience and the opportunity, and they're going to get him the ball. Now, if for some reason they don't, right, which is of course possible, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But I rather pay for, what I think is going to be the same thing as, I'm looking at like T. Higgins maybe, in end of round 5. But in
round 2, Rome in round 5, right?
Right. Higgins is round 3 in the NFBC, middle round 3. But yeah, I mean, so him, and then Ridley to me is he's the clear number 1. And even though you have a rookie QB, it's a huge upgrade over what they had last year. And he still had 1,000 yards the last couple of years with garbage QBs. And he's, professional receiver, and you can bet on him. And I think that he's going to be good for another 1,000, and maybe has a big year if Cam Ward is good out of the gate. Maybe, Calvin Ridley's one of those guys, a top 10 receiver. So I love those guys. If I got like Ridley, now they've moved up since I last looked at it. But Ridley and Odunze at the 5-6 turn, picking early, to me is like, that's great. So what if you have 3 running backs out of the gate? You take those 2 guys. I mean, you can have 3 running backs, a tight end and a quarterback, and you get those 2 guys.
You sound like Trump with the sniffing.
I mean, I was just traveling for like the whole day the other day.
You know how he does the sniffling when he talks, Trump?
No, I don't know.
He goes, it does that thing that people like get on him about.
I didn't hear that. I know that like a lot of the WF leaders are on cocaine, apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Like always rubbing their nose, and there's like, and then they're all hyped up,
Back to you.
People are like, no, they couldn't be. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
I see them like the slow down clips. Yes.
Yeah.
But wait, with Ridley though, you've another Chris Liss, like out of the book of Chris Liss, is that you say that the rookie. I didn't mean to make you self conscious. Sniff away, by the way.
I wasn't self conscious.
Okay, good. The rookie QB is always going to want to feed the alpha, just as his, security blanket. Like Calvin Ridley's the kind of guy will demand, who knows what the targets will be like, but I feel like 8.5 targets is probably the floor per game, right?
Yeah. And you got to respect the guy who throws away his career by betting on small time football stuff on the side. So I always liked Ridley after that. I respected him more. So yeah, Ridley Odunze to me are like obvious targets. Godwin, if healthy, I don't know what his health is. We were talking about Travis Hunter, and I said, no way, 4th round. He's 6th now, mid-6th. Yeah. So like, that was just crazy. I don't know who was doing that. Olave is interesting. There's no QB, and he was coming off an injury ruined year, but he was going the 2nd round, and they have him and Shaheed. It's not very deep. So I like Olave in the 6th also a little bit.
Olave, they have Olave, they have Shahi, they have Brandon Cooks back on the team, and then Jawan Jennings. It's like I said, it's not like Brandon Cook is demanding more than 3-4 targets.
And Jawan Jennings was he's like a marginal tight end.
Yeah, a couple targets. He'll have some big games. If he gets 2 touchdowns.
I mean, they need to have like the above the floor of offense and quarterback play for it to matter. But
that's true.
But anyway, so I like a lot of these receivers in these rounds, and so I am okay. I don't know. Brees Hall's going to end of third, but say you took Bijan. I'm not a big Chase Brown fan, but Jacobs, right? I mean, Bijan and Jacobs, I'm fine with that. Or Bijan and Tyreek Hill, who I think is, if he's healthy, he looks healthy now. He's running those sprints. Yeah. I don't know if you saw those videos. Mm-hmm. Then, Tyreek Hill was first pick and, third pick overall last year.
Hill's injury was his wrist. That was the issue with him.
Right.
I just made a small little bet on Tyreek Hill most receiving yards at plus 1,800. So I thought that, small bet there. I mean, he's, easily could do it, right? I mean, it should probably be plus 1,000. That's why plus 1,800 I thought was.
He's like almost the favorite to do it if he's completely healthy. I mean, he's 30 now, but so what?
Yeah, Tua has to stay healthy too because it's Zach Wilson as the backup.
Yeah, QB1. So I mean, look, you give me Bijan, and then Jacobs and Hill. Jacobs or Hill. Then you can take Breece Hall in the third. So if you have Bijan and Breece Hall and say Tyreek Hill, you're a little light wide receiver, but you got 2 of the top 3 running backs from last year who are healthy, completely healthy. And then you've still got, plenty, those guys in the 5-6 who might be available. I think they may have pushed up a bit. I think Ridley, people are going to realize he's sort of the unchallenged alpha on a team that might have a good quarterback. It seems like he should almost be in the 4th round.
Yeah. I mean, Ridley's not going to probably play much in the preseason, but sometimes, and we were talking about some of these other players, like you're talking about Hunter dropping from 4th to 6th. All Hunter needs to do is catch a 60-yard pass in the preseason, and he goes from 6 back to 4. Like this is,
there's no path for him. There's no path for him though to really be like Ridley could catch 100 passes easily, right? There's no path to Hunter catching 100 passes. Without an injury to Brian Thomas, there's no path. And that's even in the 6th round, you want a path, right? Like you want like a non-injury path to some monster year. Like Odunze to me could be the number 1. It could be obvious by like week 6 that he's better than DJ Moore. The DJ Moore is kind of solid veteran. And remember Kupp and Woods, and Kupp overtook Woods at some point. There's always like those 2 guys, and one of them just surpasses the other. And DJ Moore's pretty good.
DJ Moore's a really good player. But I know what you're saying. It's right. DJ Moore is probably a little underpriced. He's right now.
He could go early. He could go late 3rd. I mean, I wouldn't push him too much because
he's a boring player. There's a little bit of ambiguity there. People like Rome Odunze. The dynasty, the redraft narrative is pushing him down a little bit. Right? You said DJ Moore. We were taking him on the 2-3 turn last year.
Yeah, and I the Chicago just a bad place to play quarterback. Like when's the last great quarterback season in Chicago?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Did Jay Cutler have one?
He had a pretty good one that year that Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey went off. That's it. There was no production. I don't know if it's the stadium, the wind, the environment. I don't know what it is, but like when I see players in Minnesota and Atlanta, New Orleans, places like that, I'm like, these are like carnival houses for years, right? There's just been massive seasons put up. And in Chicago, there isn't. And I don't know if it's, at some point, it's not just a coincidence.
All right. So draft position wise, you want a top 3 pick. If not the right dead in the middle, just to kind of, so you don't have to chase anything. You could see how the draft board's going. And it sounds like you're trying to avoid that 8, 9, 10 spot because you want an end turn, right? 11, 12. That's your 3rd preference.
I mean, I would take Ashton Genty at 10 or 9. Nakua is interesting. I mean, Amon-Ra could fall to 9, and that's a great pick there. But Genty would be fun. I think he could just be like, 330 carries and, 50 catches and just be an absolute, just one of the top 3 workhorses in the league.
Yeah. It's funny about Amon-Ra because for years I've been yelling first round pick. You were always like, no, this year I'm not I don't like him as a first round pick because he's already had that end of the year surgery. He's not back on the field yet. Again, there's just with a first round pick, there's about 14 quote first round picks this year.
Right.
I'd rather just take one of those other guys in the first round. So I mean, it's just funny that it's reversed because
is he not guaranteed to be ready for camp? Is that the issue?
Not guaranteed to be ready for camp. They said he'll be ready for the season. I'm sure he'll be fine. And then you subtract out the offensive coordinator. Just a little different this year. It's all. Again, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Jameson Williams had a year. He's going high. He's going in the late fourth, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize he'd be going that high.
You got Gibbs as a top 3 pick. You said so. It's just all these
things could be a little bit better. The thing is, him and Goff, though, I just think if he's healthy, 100 catches floor. I mean, I just think you're just talking about peak Jarvis Landry, Alan. Peak Jarvis Landry, as I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah. It's just funny that we've had, let's see what the Amon-Ra St. Brown recently had knee surgery to clean up some stuff, but is expected to be ready for training camp. That's from the Detroit Free Press.
I mean, with a clean bill of health, I just think it's 100 catches, and he's such a rock. He's such a tough guy. Like it's I feel like he and like CeeDee Lamb have proven that they're like durable. Of course, anything can happen to anybody, but and then you look at like Nabers, who played most of the year last year. I think he missed a game, but he's had some nagging stuff, and he may be a rock also, but he's only played 1 year. So we don't really know, right? Part of the NFL isn't just like Nakua had that great rookie year, then he got hurt last year, right? Yeah. It's sort of like, can you come back year after year pretty much healthy? Maybe you miss a year out of 5. Or miss half a year out of 5, but you're just Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Chase, Amon-Ra. Those guys are like, and I just think like it's just something that people have to prove. It's not like everybody can do it. I don't think Nico Collins has proven it. He gets hurt every year, right? Like I don't trust him. Ladd McConkey, I don't trust. I think he's been banged up. Apparently he's banged up in college. He got banged up a little bit last year.
Yeah, Ladd was an injury guy in college, correct?
Right. So it's like, now Rashee Rice is coming back from an injury. It's like, I want to see a guy who, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, whether it's psychological, they're just, every year they show up. NFL's a hard business. They show up in the heat in the summer and they had to play through the cold in the winter, and mentally and psychologically and physically, that's a dude who shows up every year and keeps coming back and doesn't really, there's no like constant nagging problem.
You mentioned Nico. Here's his games played over his first 4 years of his career. 12 played, 15 played. That's good. 10 played, 14 played. So you're right. There's no, you want to see 3 15s and a 12 for a 4-year.
You want to see 3 17s, and a 12. Right. I mean, that's when you look at Amon-Ra, look at CeeDee Lamb, right? You're going to see 17s in there, right? And Jamar Chase, right? Like you want to see guys who don't really miss games. And so like Nico Collins has the 1.1 wide receiver upside, right? I mean, who's there now? Diggs is gone. What's his name got hurt? Tank Dell got hurt, right? Nico Collins, if he gets 115 targets, he's a per target monster, gets down the field, gets red zone. The problem is that Houston passing game is really hard to watch.
Right. They drafted 2 rookies, one in the early 2nd round, Jaden Higgins. They took Noel in the 3rd round, who was his.
That's not going to impact. That's, if anything, at best, it's a compliment that gets some attention. I mean, Collins is like the alpha by far. There's no one close. No one even close, right? Like,
yeah, I told you, people like Jaden Higgins, but it's a rookie, right?
He again, best case scenario, he's Jordan Addison to Jefferson. It's best case scenario. So. Yeah, I mean, but so Collins is the guy, but like, can he?
Oh, Christian Kirk. They signed him.
Oh, okay. Well, he'll get, again, perfect complement type guy that's not going to interfere with Collins's target total, right? Someone else has to get passes.
Yeah, they have, and Joe Mixon will get, 35, 40 passes if he's healthy. Nick Chubb doesn't really catch a lot of passes. And then who knows if he'll make the active roster, but they drafted Woody Marks, who is an elite pass catcher. But again, that's a rookie, and that's Jerick McKinnon tops, right, at this point, if it's good. So
there's no interference. I mean, Stroud's going to throw 550 passes. Although, what's his name? Who's the coach again? That defensive guy, DeMeco Ryans. He's like, I had Stroud and Diggs everywhere last year, and I would watch those games, and he was the worst. He would punt on 4th and short. He would, rarely go for it on 4th down. He would do a lot of handoffs to establish the run. It was just always, I was like, let CJ Stroud cook. Now, part of it was the offensive line was abominable. So yeah, in his defense, It was like Stroud was running for his life, but I imagine it'll be better. I don't know. Collins to me seems like he's like McCaffrey, right? He's boom bust. Like he could be the best receiver on the board, could get hurt. I don't see McCaffrey as a first rounder. I think he's a good.
Oh yeah, no way.
2.4 is great for McCaffrey, but 1.11 is too high.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take him at 2.3, you might as well take him at 110. I understand that logic, right? Because then all the other guys, the next 6 are like more or less similar. So if you want him, I have no problem with 110. But I'm with you. It's not like I just don't want to have him as my first round pick, right? Like there's too many other solid guys like Brian Thomas over Christian McCaffrey, even, Nico Collins. Actually, you know what? That's a tougher sell for me, but I understand why he is going there. But McCaffrey's healthy now. You always say that, right? They're healthy now. He's been showing up to the non-mandatory practices, looking good. I mean, he's only 29. It's so easy to see. So you can't even see the case for McCaffrey. I've seen him go as high as like pick 5 or 6.
No, I see the case, but I mean, I don't know. It just seems like at that age, there's not just injury risk because he's been hurt so much, but there's just decline risk. Like at one point, right? Like all those guys weren't themselves. At one point, they get on the field, LaShawn McCoy or Dalvin Cook just isn't Dalvin Cook. Right. It's like, it's Dalvin Cook. I got him, And then it's like, yeah, he's going to take over that Jets job or whatever. And then they give him a couple carries and it's like, oh, he's not Dalvin Cook anymore. Like one day. Right. Well, I mean, Zeke had a long, slow, Gurley.
Oh, you're saying like all of a sudden, right?
Yeah. Just like suddenly one day, 1 year, they suck. And, McCaffrey had an injury year, so we didn't really see him. He was good when he was healthy, but it's hard to know. And the injuries are cumulative and, and then you have the soft tissue problems that get aggravated easily. I get it. He could still be the 1.1, still 29. I would love it if he slipped a little more. I'd love to get a Barkley McCaffrey team just because you're talking about the two, over the last 6-7 years, like they were like 1-2.
So by the way, Barkley, let's just go with him for a second here. So Barkley, there's, he's the 1.1, 1.2 in a lot of drafts, right? People like him there. I've seen him slip a little now to like 4 or 5. I mean, very rare to 5. And the case against is the 480 carries or whatever it was total. But the other part of it is, they didn't ban the tush push. So Jalen Hurts is going to get 10 of those. And Barkley's average touchdown length last year was like 29 yards. I mean, he's not going to have 29 yard, 40-yard touchdowns again this year. He needs some of those 5-yard, 4-yard touchdowns in order to return top 5 value.
He does that though. He breaks those long ones. He's always done it. Like he had 7 his rookie year when those nutless monkeys were like, I don't know, Darnold's the quarterback. I think they should have taken Darnold. I'm like, dude, he has 7 40+ yard touchdowns. The last guy that did that was Adrian Peterson, 2012, when he won the MVP. Okay. This was like, and he caught 91 passes and had 7 rushes for more than 40 yards for touchdowns on a shit team with a bad offensive line. And these guys were like, well, you always take the quarterback. You got to take Sam Darnold. The base rate is, they're just guys are such idiots. Anyway, I'll never forgive them. I need them to like send me a letter, not an email, a letter saying, you know what? I'm a nutless monkey. I was wrong. It was fine to be wrong. You disagree. That's fine. They were like browbeating me like I was some kind of idiot. And then they were like, and one guy was like, there's a perfect correlation between the people who thought Barkley was a good pick and they think that ivermectin's better than the mRNA, And I'm like,
right.
Yeah, the people who were correct. Yeah. So, so the point is that I think Barkley could still be the 1.1. And
let's see where he's going right
so
here.
Good.
He's dropped to 5 over the last 15 days.
6 since July 1st.
Yeah,
on the RotoWire online only.
Online only. Let's see. RotoWire online
6.17.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was looking at all drafts. That's interesting. All right.
So he's going, and I'm doing that one tomorrow night, right? So I'm doing a beat Chris Liss. So I know you're too much of a nutless monkey. You're only going to get in the third FOMO one. You're not going to get in the first one.
I'm doing a couple of drafts myself. I'm doing July 23rd and July 30th, 1 p.m. Eastern time, helping Tom promote these matinee drafts. They're a little tougher to fill.
Beat Alan Seslowsky. Maybe I'll do one of those.
Okay, cool.
So 6. So I mean, 6 is good. I mean, I might take Nabers over him. I was saying how Amon-Ra is such a rock, but now you're like, saying that like,
Well,
He's
no,
coming off this injury.
it was cleanup surgery, right? Like
Right.
you get cleanup. So maybe that's silly of me to think that cleanup surgery means anything, right? When he's been, I'm just a little bit more like Detroit this is total narrative street, but they're set up from that season from hell type of thing where it just everyone has them high and they could still be good fantasy players, but it just feels like with Ben Johnson gone, with the defensive coordinator gone, if they have a good season again, I can't believe I just blanked on the head coach's name.
Campbell.
Dan Campbell is going down as like he's the next Bill Belichick if they have a good season this year, right?
I don't think it'll be that hard. I mean, first of all, coordinators are overrated in my opinion. Like most,
but you
of
lose
them.
both. You remember you always say the which Jenga piece?
Yeah, you never.
They
know,
lost Frank Ragnow, the center.
Yeah, the center is always kind of big. It's like they lost all their. He's like the coach of the team in a way.
Yeah,
but Goff's a veteran. They've had that same core together for a long time. And if they lose the defense, that's not going to hurt the offense, right? I mean, that may have more shootouts. And then the other thing is that although they like that dominant style of play where they're always playing kind of downhill with the lead, but I don't know. I think they know the offense already, like those same players. Right. And
10.5 is the number.
They're a little bit like Buffalo in a way. You know, everyone's like, oh, Buffalo's losing the playoffs. Everyone's like, they lost Diggs, they lost whoever. You know, I'm fading the Bills. And then Josh Allen, James Cook, they all do the same thing they're supposed to do because they're still really good. It's just,
that's with an elite quarterback. An elite quarterback, like a Superman, an apex predator type, they can lift everyone. Goff is not that, right?
Goff with a good offensive line is an apex. Okay. So basically there's quarterbacks that are great, almost like under any condition. And there's quarterbacks that, like Mayfield, Goff types that if they have good offensive line and a solid offense around them, they're going to be good. Matt Ryan was one of those guys, Kirk Cousins, when he was in his peak, was one of those guys. Like, they're not elite because they can't deal with adversity too much, but you put the team around them and they're like 35 touchdowns guaranteed. Like, they're going to run the offense. Like, they know how to play. Stafford is like a high end one of those,
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, I don't know if you did this on purpose in your article or if it's a typo, or I couldn't figure out. You were talking about can't take QBs in round 3, the elite QBs. This is a quote from your article. So many good cheap options later. Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, and Jake McCarthy. Shouldn't it be JJ McCarthy?
JJ McCarthy. I think I just typed that.
Okay, I
think Jake McCarthy's a baseball player. He steals bases.
Okay, because I was starting to look up this JJ stand for Jake and Jake Jr. or something like that. So that's just a typo.
That's a typo. It's just a typo.
Okay.
I was thinking about baseball player.
Keep it in there.
I'll keep it. I'll edit it. But I thought you were going to say, and who's 12-inch? Who's 12-inch? Everyone knows who 12-inch is.
Right.
Phoenix.
So, but this is our next topic, right? Like, again, I feel like I'm reminding you of your old, commandments here. Like, you always say, the quarterback is so deep. You can get all those guys late. And then week 1, the guy who has Lamar gets 38 and JJ McCarthy has like 17. And you're like, fuck, I lost. This happens every year.
It does, but you get compensated for that because while you're taking Lamar and he's going at like the middle of the third,
and you're getting JSN.
Smith, JSN, who then has 23, and now you're starting, Michael Pittman or somebody, and he gets like 7 points, and so I'm just saying the people who were like. The point I make is that like a lot of people want to check the boxes, right? And that's why it looks good to wait on quarterback and tight end because they're like, oh, I still got David Njoku and I still got.
Stroud or
CJ Stroud. I'm set at all these positions, right? I'm like, you're set, but you're not set. You don't have Brock Bowers. And so people, and so it was always the criticism of like, don't take the luxury tight end and QB early, right? Like if you took Brock Bowers in round 2 and Lamar Jackson in round 3, okay, you're going to be thin somewhere, but okay, fine, right? You're going to make up for it. And maybe it depends how the season goes, right? Some years there's a Jonnu Smith to pick up on tight end. Some years there's a few receivers to pick up and you pick them up. It just depends what's available and how deep the league is at each position. But I don't know. I don't think like the build. I think you got to identify in advance who your targets are for your build. So if you're going to go running back heavy or go luxury QB / tight end early, you better know which receivers you're going to land on. You better be prepared to pay a few extra picks up. And in all the main of the prime times, those guys get pushed up so much. And you're like, don't get caught behind it. Like just push up a guy half a round and take him. sometimes even 3/4 of a round if you like him, because
right, like a Keon Coleman type. If he's in round 10, be prepared to take him in round 8 if you like him.
Right. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't like nickel and dime it, because I've gotten stuck where, oh shit, they took all of my guys and now there's just some backup running backs, and like I don't need a running back. I got 3 good running backs and I'm desperate for a receiver. And now I'm going, then you're reaching big.
You're taking like Rashad Bateman a round and a half early.
Right. You start reaching 2, 3, 4 rounds because you're like, I just need receivers at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, that is the reason. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, stick with this QB thing. All right. So you had said also in your article that you're not paying third rounders for the big 3, Josh Allen, Lamar, and Jaden Daniels. But if you think about this versus other years, these guys are cheaper than they've ever been. Like Josh Allen was going on like the 1-2 turn last year when Mahomes was an elite guy. Sometimes he went pick 10, even though people knew to wait on quarterback, or, basically you had to pay a round 2 price, like a solid round 2 price. Now you're getting him a full round cheaper for the elite quarterback. And that's just like people fading quarterback a little bit. Don't you think it's worth it in the third round?
Well, there was a point where the highest quarterbacks were in the 4th and 5th round too. So it went back up to 1. No, yeah. I'm going back 3 years. So in recent years, look up a couple of years ago, like the highest pick was 4th round. It was Josh Allen or Mahomes, right? And then there was like a second, Lamar was like 5th, 6th. But like last year, Lamar was like 5th, 6th also. And I passed on him for Anthony Richardson. Just think about that.
Good job.
Yeah. So, but my point is just that,
but the
third round is not cheap historic in the last 10 years for quarterbacks. There are some years they're in the 1st and 2nd. Hurts was at the turn. I've seen that, back in the day. It's not like a terrible pick. I like them better than the guys I don't like, but I like Harrison. I like Hill. I like JSN. I kind of like Kyron Williams.
You're talking about his alternative picks too.
Those are the other guys going around, Jackson and Allen now.
Oh, so, and then let me ask you this. So we're looking at basic ADP. And I think sometimes you see Burrow in the 4th round. That's not going to happen in a lot of home league drafts.
He's 4th in this. He's
right.
He's 42.
Yeah. And I don't think that's going to happen in home league drafts, like office drafts or friends drafts, because this is like stacking, right? So in order to stack Burrow with Chase or T. Higgins, you do need to push him up. I think that in a traditional league where there's no overall prize, you're going to see Burrow fall below Jalen Hurts. It's just a prediction.
I don't play in a lot of those leagues anymore, but I think in the NFC, it's going to be NFC. It's going to be hard because Chase is 1.1. So you got to push up Higgins, who's mid-3rd to the end of the 2nd. You could, if you want to, you can do that,
but you're paying a 3-4 turn.
And then you got to take Burrow half a round earlier too. So you're pushing up 2 guys early. Mm-hmm. Half a round doesn't matter in round 8. It makes no difference. You push, don't worry about that. But round 2, if we're doing an auction, the guy in, the 42nd player Burrow and the 39th, actually it's really close. It's 42.5 and 39.0. So it's not that big of a difference. It's just like, if you look at it on the grid, it looks different, but actually the average is close. But if it's 6, if it were really 6 real picks, 6 whole picks, in round 4, that might be $2 or $3 in an auction. And in round 2, it might be $5 in an auction. So you don't just willy-nilly push a guy up half a round. I guess you could go Chase, Higgins, Burrow at the turn.
And boy, you don't need the super stack. You could just, correlate. You can get
Chase and then Burrow.
Yeah. Or Higgins and Burrow, or, again,
you can go Higgins round 3 and Burrow round 4 and you're at ADP.
Right. But again, with ADP, it's like,
you're not going to like you're really not going to want to fade Chase, with the Bengals stack without Chase.
This is why I've seen Lamb in these overall contests go number 101. And again, You talked about the safety of him, but you don't really have to push up Dak. You could just take him in round 9 or round 10 or whatever, it is. And that's an easier stack with, arguably just as much upside. And you could get Pickens in there somewhere too, if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Pickens could be like T. Higgins. He could be, and you're right. I mean, I like that better. The year that most recent year I won the primetime, I had Lamb and Dak 2 years ago, and it was like the second half of the year was like just printing money. I gotta, what do you think about Nabers? I'm really going to have a hard time not drafting Nabers because he's a giant. And I do think the QB is not going to be worse than last year. And it's going to be, I think he might get 180 targets, seriously.
Yeah, what's wrong with Russell Wilson? He fed DK Metcalf for years and Tyler Lockett. Nothing
He's
wrong
not
with him.
peak Russell Wilson was good,
Yeah, but he could still throw a long ball, and you got to trust Brian. If you like Brian Dable as a coach, I think Malik Nabers is a great first round pick, especially as we at the top of this podcast, I talked about passing on a better running back, like passing on Genty for Nabers because you like I prefer that structure in a 3 receiver league. So yeah, I think Nabers is as solid as it comes for first round pick.
Would you pass on Barkley for Nabers? They're going 6 and 7.
Yeah, I think that is a decision, right? I probably would take Nabers. And again, it has nothing like that's the right or wrong. It's just structurally there. I don't really like Barkley. Obviously he's a first round pick, but it's just there's a lot to talk yourself out of it, right? Except in week 1 when he has 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Nabers has 4 for 28 yards.
Right.
And
the Giants lose like 16-3.
Right.
And Barkley has 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And you're like, what? Well, why am I taking the guy in the Giants over the guy in the Eagles? Like, what was I thinking? Like,
yeah, well, here's the Nabers has a couple different, outs, so to speak. Like obviously Russell Wilson, he can feed his alpha. And then Jameis Winston, forget it. Like that's like, you struck gold, right? But if they go with Jackson Dart, we just talked about it a minute ago with Cam Ward. The rookies tend to just rely on that alpha guy, right? And there's really nobody else there with the Giants. I mean, we both like Darius Slayton. I mean, that's fine. As a
Wan'Dale Robinson is like basically a hybrid scat back. Like he's like almost a running back.
Yeah, they can't do that again though. With like giving Wan'Dale, what did he get? Like 90 catches for like 600 yards, something like that last year.
That's what I mean. But he's like a short. He said he wanted more deep throws, but I mean, good luck.
But there's no tight end to speak of. So that's why Wan'Dale's almost like
Theo Johnson, man. Theo Johnson's the man.
I mean,
so
yeah.
But point is, Nabers can get 180 targets. Okay, if he's healthy all year,
he doesn't even need it, right? He can with 150, he can get home.
But with 180, okay.
Oh yeah,
he's going to catch 115. And he's going to have 1,500 yards. He's going to have 10 touchdowns, and he's going to be a, top 3 receiver. I mean, you're going to take Lamb over Nabers, though, right? Because Lamb is just there's no real warts. He had a bad year last year because the Prescott got hurt.
Yes, I think Lamb would be my 103.
Right. So you're going Chase, Jefferson, Lamb with your first 3 picks.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard for me to not take Bijan Robinson there, but I've taken Bijan at pick 2 before, and I feel like I'm chasing the draft. Like my 3 receivers in those leagues are like Marv, Waddle, and Pearsall, something like that, and that's not like what I want. Yeah, I mean I like all those guys, but yeah, it's just too dicey once
I'm going to stack Pearsall with Brian Robinson, because. I mean, I want my team to be bulletproof. I want a bulletproof team.
Very good. That's
the real stack.
Very good. I was like, what the hell?
In case someone shoots at me, I'll put those guys in front of me.
I mean, I was like, what are those guys? What is it? What is he talking about? Has he lost his mind? But then, you're always playing a little 4D chess on here.
Yeah,
that's chess.
That's me.
Yeah, very good.
So anyway, I mean, look, I can see Lamb going to. Jefferson, it's QB issues. Like who knows if JJ McCarthy.
But here's the counterpoint: is that they've just done it with too many different iterations, like Nick Mullins. Sam Darnold had it all the time. It's either you believe in the Kevin O'Connell ecosystem or you don't, right? If you do,
and the dome, like Minnesota, it's just such an ideal setup, there, and I do believe in it, but it is. I mean, it is something that he has to deal with.
It's a rookie quarterback, right? Like it's the same thing as. I mean, he's more or less a rookie. Jake McCarthy, as you call him.
Yeah, Jake McCarthy also plays center field for the Diamondbacks.
So hold on, I want to go back to Marvin Harrison because you said you're not so sure about him. Like I feel so good about him. I mean, last year as a pick 11 overall, I was like, what the hell are people doing here? I thought that was just a crazy pick. I even made some videos saying this is the dumbest pick ever in fantasy football.
I made it in my prime time. I took him, and because London went, I think, and I was like, shit, I got to
rest my case. Yeah. But in round 3,
I had Gibbs in round 1. It was a good pick. Look, a year 2 receiver who it's not like he showed nothing last year.
He had a good year, 800 yards and 6 touchdowns.
But I watched him closely because I had him, and the disconnect between him and Murray, like there were some games like he just didn't throw to him for like the whole half or 3 quarters. Like they haven't targeted Marvin Harrison yet. Like why? Because Kyler Murray fucking sucks and he's erratic. It's not that he sucks. If he were just bad, but like consistently bad, he's erratic. He will basically like get the ball, start skidding around and like chuck it, deep, chuck it sidearm. there's no rhythm to that offense. There's not, those offenses like, when Kirk Cousins is in a groove, or Lamar Jackson, or, any of these guys that are pros, right? The offense kind of cooks, and there's like, okay, Zay Flowers gets one, and now Bateman's got one. And now they hand to Henry, and now they throw to Andrews, and another one to Bateman. Like, there's just that rhythm of the offense. I feel like with Arizona, it's just like, you don't know what you're going to get. You may have a quarterback run, you may have a handoff to Connor, but you just don't get like 4 or 5 rhythm throws to different receivers marching down the field. And then McBride is there, who he seems to trust more. And so it's just like, there was such a disconnect. I was like, dude, you're not using this guy you drafted this high in the draft. And so I started to think like, maybe it's just frustrating to have Nabers, right? Danny Dimes not very good, but from day one, it was like, this is my guy. I'm going to throw him the ball 15 times a game, and we don't give a fuck. With Marvin Harrison, it was just not like that. And so now you really want to, in early round 3, it's more tolerable, but you hate to start the season and be like, he's not throwing to him.
In NFFC, isn't it late round 3? Let's say
early 3.
Okay, I'm just looking here. Oh yeah, it's like 3-4, right? Okay, yeah, it's early 3. So with Marvin Harrison, now there was a guy that I follow on Twitter. I thought he does some pretty good film analytics. His name is RJ Fisher, and he had said last year coming in that he was like Marvin Harrison wasn't even his top 2 rookie wide receiver. And the reason he cited, which I thought was interesting, one, that it came true, is that he thought that Marvin Harrison had these monster games against like super inferior competition in college. And the games that he did have, those big games, it was just like, he was just like bigger and better than anyone else. That he wasn't a separator, didn't have like route chops or any of that stuff. So he predicted, based on his analysis, that he was going to have a tough go at it, being this elite receiver in the NFL. Where everyone else was comparing him to AJ Green, Marvin Harrison, he says he's just going to be a good NFL receiver, not this elite prospect. So I thought, again, it came true, and I'm sure he's got 75 predictions that didn't, but I thought that analysis kind of held up in year 1.
That's good. That makes me a little more nervous even. Maybe Murray had a reason that I'm blaming Murray, but maybe Murray's like, dude's not open. And I can't throw to him. I can throw to Michael Wilson. I can't throw to this guy. He's not open. Yeah. A lot of the catches he made, like in the end zone and stuff, were contested. Like the guy was on him and he caught it over him, but it was like, I didn't see very many plays where Marvin Harrison was wide open. Right.
And that's what it is. And he said he contested. He's bigger than everyone. He's 6'4", but just getting open.
He's got good hands, but
he couldn't really get open.
I didn't see it. I don't remember. It's not like I watched the tape closely, but I watched a bunch of his games, and I was like, I never saw him wide open, like just cruising behind the defense very often, or like getting open on a slant and taking it to the house. Neighbors would get a slant. The sickest one was Chase last year. Owning Chase, you were like, dude, he was catching short balls and deking like 3 guys and taking it to the house like every game. It was so ridiculous how good Chase was last year. But maybe I'll pass on Harrison. That's a good point.
Yeah, now the pro side of Harrison was that he bulked up this year, right? You saw he's like one of these guys. Yeah, it's true. That's true. Right. Look, they have a lot invested in him. They need to like get him the ball.
They're going to try. They're going to try.
Yeah. And now the other piece that's negative for him, again, we'll move on after this, is Trey McBride had like an unsustainably low number of touchdowns, right? Remember when he like ran one in and then he got his first one? Even if that goes from like whatever he had 2 to like 6 or 7, that's coming out of Marv's pocket.
Yeah, and I also don't they just run it with Connor a ton at the goal line? Yeah. Like they don't really like do that like play action toss to the receiver. Like some receivers get gifted 3 or 4. Like Devontae Adams used to get 3 or 4 gifts a year from Rodgers, where Rodgers wanted to pad his stats, pad Adams' stats. They just wouldn't run it from the 2-yard line, and they seem to always do it with the Cardinals. I'm out on Harrison now. I was sort of like wanted to take him because I want a receiver, year 2, elite pedigree, decent first year for like a random guy. But what you told me about the tape kind of jives with what I observed. I never really saw him open.
Yeah, those are not my observations, by the way. They were RJ Fisher's, so fine. They were.
But that's sort of what I give me Tyreek Hill, who goes 1 pick before. Hill, you're just totally gambling that he's not like on the down slope. But if he's himself, that's you may get the 5th overall pick basically in round 3.
Yeah. Even though this is a collaboration podcast, I hope you don't mind if I do a commercial for NFFC. Those are our
fine.
friends.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
NFFC, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So just remember, NFFC, it's where Liss and I both play our high stakes fantasy football draft. It's the best, right? I mean, I play on some of the other platforms, but this is the one I always come back to. Liss, you're having, what's the date of your draft? Is
Tomorrow.
on the 8th?
Tomorrow.
Well, you can't say tomorrow because I don't know when I'm going to air this podcast.
It is Wednesday, July 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so by the time this airs, your draft will have passed. Mine's on July 23rd. And I have another one July 30th. I'll put the links in the video description to join those drafts. But even
I'm
if you
live streaming mine, but there's no point in telling you because it's too late to see it.
Exactly, it's already been had.
Well, I just post it. I'll post it on my site anyway.
Yeah, you'll post.
You can always do an ad for the NFFC. By the way, I get a free entry into those. Right, I get comped. Now it's not free. I got to promote it. I got to put it on my site.
Yeah, I was objecting when you say free. It's a bartered entry.
It's a barter, right? And but I feel good about promoting them because I pay for the leagues too. I'm going to pay for the prime time. I don't get that one free anymore. And I it's something that I use. So I don't mind. I don't like to promote products that are just some bullshit that I would never use because you're kind of like,
well, how did you do that on the RotoWire podcast? Like if they gave you some,
I never did. I do. I guess I must have done some. I didn't know. I just had, I had Real Man Wood. Right. So I didn't really do the RotoWire podcast.
Right. No, but you were on with Jeff every week and he would promote whatever.
He would promote, but I was just a guest usually on his RotoWire version, I think. And
no,
then
you guys did a Monday. You guys did a Monday review of the week.
Did we?
Of course you did. You forget already? Every Monday. I
did my own Real Man Wood East Coast offense, right? Yeah. With Dalton. And then I would be a guest on Jeff's maybe when it first started.
Not a guest. It was your podcast, right? When I was working at RotoWire, you guys would do a
at
Monday.
The very end. We did a Monday.
Yeah, Monday podcast where you're
basically just the XM show.
No, you guys basically did a version of the XM show.
He must have done he must have done the driving then.
He did.
I mean, it's not like I did reads for XM. I refuse to do the FTX read, by the way. They're like, you mind reading the FTX? It's a new crypto exchange. And I said, I don't know. But then I looked it up and nobody gave me any red flags. And then I asked Shin. I thought I was like super like, no, I'm too, ethical and foresight. I had too much foresight. But I actually said, are they paying us for this or they just want us to do it? And he's like, it's just kind of a favor. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing it. And he's like, okay, fine. I'll tell him. And so we didn't do any FTX reads. So you didn't get wrecked, but it wasn't out of ethics. It was because they weren't paying. If they paid us $50,000, I would have done it.
Right. So what do you mean a favor? Why would he be doing favors?
Because it was like XM, like there was certain stuff we had to do that was like part of the contract. And there's certain stuff that like, they would just be like, oh, we have a read. Are you cool doing this? You got a couple of reads, whatever. And like, there was some that I just didn't want to do because it was like Burger King hot dog that I made Jeff do. Right. I wouldn't feed that to my dog. Right. So it's like, I'm not reading that like I'm going to, delicious hot dog from Burger King. I made Jeff do the MeUndies thing. It was too humiliating to read.
Burger King hot dog is like, do you remember when we were kids that McDonald's came out with a lobster?
I didn't, but that's straight food poisoning,
yeah, with McLobster, and it was in Connecticut, because in New England, they would have it like in the McDonald's in like New England, in Connecticut, when you go up 95, then you'd get there, they'd have the freaking McLobster on like a bun.
Yeah, no, that's
food tartar sauce.
Happened. Yeah. But anyway, so, I would do reads on my podcast if I had any people. I get all these random emails like, oh, let us grow your podcast from these. And like following up on the last email, there's like, dude, these like, I don't know what it is. They're just, it's like bots, like, and I'm like, stop emailing me, but I don't get any legitimate inquiries for advertising. Yeah. But I would do it if there's stuff I like Ivy. Remember Ivy, my producer, of course. She has if you're in the DC area, Fight Juice, right? She has Fight Juice. It's her juice product. It's excellent. I was there last summer and she gave us some free juice because she took us around DC because we hung out with her. And she gave us some Fight Juice. It was delicious. It's organic. It's really good. So if you're in DC, buy some Fight Juice at the farmer's market and some markets, find it. So I'll do an ad for something like that, right?
Right.
Or the NFFC, I'll do, Greg and those guys. But like, I'm not doing some ad for some piece of shit thing that, that I wouldn't use.
What if it's neutral? Like, what if it's like a new app or game for fantasy? Because we get a lot of those at RotoWire.
I mean, I did it because I had to. It was my job. But I'm saying like on my podcast, if they pay me like a ton of money, I'd probably do it. If it wasn't like totally scammy, I'd probably do it.
Yeah. I had a thought. It came and went, but I'll just ask. Oh, you know what? We'll do one more ad, but I'm trying to think. It was for something I thought you would like. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh, you know what I was going to do? I was going to do an ad for the Chris Liss podcast. That's what I was going to do.
Yeah, no, don't listen to that. I don't trust. I wouldn't listen to that.
Yeah. No, if you're into social issues, finance, things like that, not advice, but the state of, money and, all sorts of different things, I think it's a good recommendation. But if you get triggered by political conversations, things like that, it's probably not for you. Or maybe it is. Maybe another perspective, right?
Yeah, you need to get
Okay.
enraged. Yeah, stay enraged. Mine's
So
lately not like that. I'm not about that
no,
really.
no. It's
No.
the last one you were talking about how how your daughter told you not to coach her basketball team. She doesn't think you're
Right.
up to the task. Now it's probably just the normal teenagers
No, it's the
embarrassing
wrong
their
age.
parents.
Like if she was
Yeah.
10, she wouldn't be a problem, but she's 13 and she's
Yeah.
like, there's no one more embarrassing than her parents,
Oh
right
yeah, no,
now.
totally. You know what my mom used to do to embarrass me because I was embarrassed by my parents when she dropped me off at middle school. She dropped me off, right? We had like the two-tone station wagon, and then she just whacked the horn as loud as she could. Well, I'm like saying, "Wah, wah, wah," just nail it. I was like, oh man,
Made you the man you are today, who doesn't care anymore.
Hey, last couple fantasy topics here. We were talking about quarterbacks earlier. I'm interested in the elite quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels. I like the price on Jalen Hurts, but I have Justin Fields as my QB6, and I have Trevor Lawrence as my QB10. Those are the ones that I'm out of consensus on. Fields, the case real quick is that he was QB6 before he was benched. So like I'm
Right.
fantasy football wise, like this lines up.
He's always been QB6 when he plays, right?
Yeah.
He either keeps the job as QB6 or he loses the job.
We can't lose it this year. And I mean, Tyrod Taylor, he's 37 years old.
Tyron Taylor, by the way, is always solid.
Solid.
Fields is absolutely abominable. Like they may just put in the backup. Yeah,
it's almost
but Fields is much more. It's not like, Jordan Love is likely to be abominable, but Fields is like 50-50 to be abominable.
Right. But Fields at least is being paid as a starter. Last year, he was on $1 million contract. This year, he's getting his whatever it is, $14-16 million. It's only
the Jets always bring out the best in people too. That's what I kind of.
The year that the Jets drafted Zach Wilson, I wanted them to take Fields. I always liked this guy. I think it's going to work out. And I love that Aaron Glenn kind of trolled Rodgers a little bit, brought him in just to kick him out. And he proactively went after Fields. He said that Fields was the guy that just the Lions couldn't figure out when he was the defensive coordinator. I think it's all set up really well. And I also like that, he has a little experience playing with Garrett Wilson, who just got paid.
Yeah, I get it. I wouldn't put him at 6 just because
I mean, draft him at 6, but I have him at 6.
Oh, I would rather draft him at 6 than put him at 6. In the rankings, you get dinged when he loses his job or gets hurt because he takes so many hits and he takes big hits. But I could see it. I mean, when he's playing, he's going to run for like 50, 60 yards. He had 1,000 yards one year. He had like 1,100 yards or something. And he has Garrett Wilson, as you said. The guys that I like,
you want to address Lawrence real quick? I have him at 10. His consensus rank is 17 or 19.
I mean, if Travis Hunter is legit, then it makes perfect sense, right? He has 2 guys. He's already got one, first round receiver. If he has another guy who ends up being a 3rd round receiver or 4th, I mean, I wouldn't draft him there. But if his ceiling is that, then
you don't have to. Yeah, you don't take him there. I think the reason is the easy comparison is to last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers lists, right? Liam Cohen comes over from Tampa Bay to Jacksonville, the distressed, number 1 overall quarterback. And if you think that Lawrence is in like the same bucket as Baker Mayfield was this time last year, then you have to think
Lawrence is in a better bucket. Maybe last year, same, but 2 years ago, Mayfield was left for dead. I mean, it was like he was almost out of the league, just like, Goff was when they were like trading. It was like they had to take Goff back from the Rams.
You have a pick to take him. Right?
I mean, salary. It was like a negative, and now suddenly Goff is like their star quarterback on one of the best teams in the league.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, but if you don't believe that,
I think Lawrence is just like that. I think, he runs a bit too, so he has a little more upside.
And Mayfield was QB5 last year.
Yeah, no, I totally fine. And plus, once you get into 10, the difference between 10 and 15 is not a big deal. I like. Who was it? I was just looking at. I like Bo Nix. I think like Peyton is a quarterback wizard. He was actually good as a rookie, put up big numbers at the end, and he runs. Bo Nix to me is like, he could be like QB3. It's like, to me, that's like.
I hate to make the comparison because it's a different type, but he could be like what Drew Brees was for fantasy football.
With running.
Yeah.
Like he runs. Brees got you 0. So, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't.
All right, so let's go over this. All right. If you're taking an early QB, right? If you're taking elite tier, God tier, whatever you're going to call it, where are you shopping? Like who's the one?
I mean, I'd probably take Josh Allen late third if I had to take one of those guys.
Okay, you and I are both out in the 6th and the 7th round on the Mahomes Mayfield stuff.
Mayfield is eighth, but I still wouldn't take him.
Okay, so then we're both back in the 9th round with Bo Nix, correct?
Yes, Nix I would take in 9
Okay,
because he's really highly ranked. Because you look at it, it's only Allen, Jackson, Daniels, Burrow, Hurts is 5,
9, 8 or 9.
Yeah, but it's like, don't get deceived. 9 and 14 are not that different in terms of what you have to pay for them. Whereas some of the other guys are much more expensive.
Yeah, round 10, I'm in on Dak. If I get CD, I'm not going to take him. If I don't, Kyler, I think we're both out.
Yeah,
and then round 11, I'm totally passing here because on Goff, Purdy. Oh, actually, Fields is the one. So I will take Fields in round 10 over Murray and Prescott. That's where I'd push him up to.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fine. I mean, Goff is just a defense pick. It's like, okay, he's going to get his 30 touchdowns and his yards. Like, you don't really do it for ceiling. I guess if the defense collapses and then shootouts, you can have a ceiling. I like Herbert in round 12 a little bit. I like Stroud in 13. It was a disaster last year, but the line has been, remember, Stroud was going in round 5 last year, round 6.
Yeah.
So Stroud's a buy low. Why is Jordan Love so low? He was good last year.
He was okay. He wasn't great last year. And, I like him this year as well. They were very run heavy. I think they were 30th in pass attempts last year, which has to change. They drafted a first round rookie receiver, which they've never done. People often say like, oh, last year they were run heavy. And I've heard you say, well, maybe that's their cue that they have to change. It didn't work, right? Like, so they draft a first round receiver, but that's why Jordan Love was a disappointment versus ADP.
I mean, 14th round to me is stealing. It's just like Jordan Love could be QB7 and you're getting him in the 14th round. I feel like all these guys, Stroud, Jordan Love. So it's hard for me to pay up for the Josh Allens because I'm going to get Stroud or Jordan Love. I'll pay up a half a round early and then maybe I'll have Nix with them. And I'll be like, one of these guys is going to be a top 10 QB and I'm fine, and Nix, I think, has crazy upside. I think Stroud has upside if another receiver steps up along with Collins.
Jordan Love finished as QB 17 last year.
Right. Did he miss some time though? He missed like 4 games, didn't he?
He missed. So he got hurt in week 1, the very end of the game. So he missed only 2 weeks. He missed week 2 and 3.
Right. So I mean, the top 5 QBs are all like, okay, that you can see is QB4, QB6. But once you get to QB 17 and there's games missed, it's all like per game production.
Well, his per game production was 13th.
Okay. That's more. So he had an off year. They threw very few attempts, and he was still 13th in per game, right? Yeah. To me, that's a guy that you...
And they added a first-round receiver.
And he's young, so he's probably getting better still. He's on the upswing.
Yeah. I think the youngest pass-catching core in the league, they have, Jaden Reed going in, his 3rd or 4th year?
Isn't he banged up, though, now, Jaden Reed?
Is he? I didn't see that note. Matthew Golden, who they drafted in the first round, fastest receiver at the combine, right? Yeah. Tucker Kraft is rising like crazy. The 1,000-yard season is in play there. And then who else? They have Romeo Doubs, who's just like a perfect, like a Jacoby Myers journeyman. Yeah. And then Wicks has some upside for big games if anyone misses time. You're not going to draft him in fantasy, but it's a great number 4 or 5 receiver.
There's no reason to penalize Love because it's hard to predict who's going to get the ball, right? Like people get frustrated by the receivers in Green Bay because it's like you don't know who to start every week, but what does it matter? It doesn't matter for the QB, right?
It's good for the QB, right? Like because it doesn't matter, right? Like he's got so many options,
right? And like other people, and you could stack cheaply too, right? You can get Reed in the 8th and stack him with Love for nothing. And if Reed's their best receiver, I don't know why they don't use him more, but if they decide to do that, suddenly you have a good stack for nothing.
In the offseason, when they drafted Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed made some noise asking, and it was public, this stuff, that where am I on this pecking order? Am I still the number 1? They said, yes, you're our number 1 guy. We're just adding to the fold here. So it seems like, he's good enough, but they may get him a little bit more involved this year. So, all right, Liss, you did it, man.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs. What do you think about old guys going to the 8th round that were 2nd, 3rd rounders? What are you doing with them?
Yeah, in on Kupp, for obviously. Now, the only bad thing about Kupp is that Sean McVay, who they seem to be a good evaluator of where guys are in their career, said no thanks, brought in Devontae Adams. That's the scary part. Right. But you're not paying for it, right? You're paying an 8th round pick. He should be your 3rd receiver, maybe your 4th if you went wide receiver heavy. So I like that. Stephon Diggs scares me a little bit because of the, he's coming off an actual injury. Like guys off of injury, usually a dicey bet. I know there's upside there, and we'd like Drake May, but so yes to Kupp, no to Diggs.
I'm more in on Diggs. He's younger and, was at his peak more recently. He actually was started off well last year. And I think that, it does depend on if he's 100% or not. Yeah.
Right. I just don't like guys coming off injury. At 8th round though, it's like, I don't like taking guys off injury in like round 3,
Right. Yeah.
So, all right, Liss, you did it again. Appreciate it. This can be found, this podcast, you're either hearing it on Real Man Sports video feed, podcast feed. It's also going to be available in the RotoWire podcast feed within the next, sometimes 3 to 10 days. It depends on, we have a very strict podcast schedule now. So that's why I try to
dumb because it's going to be outdated by the time it airs.
Not really. Not in this part of the year. If
Maybe.
It was,
Maybe.
if it is, there's it'll probably be up sooner than you think, but it'll be on the RotoWire YouTube page in short order. And that's again where video now is
it gets posted right away on YouTube, and then it takes a while to get in the podcast.
Video is outpacing audio now. Across the industry 2 to 1. Right. If you have a halfway competent YouTube page, we're seeing at least double the action there.
I did not know that.
Yep. That about last year we crossed over where we have more engagement, let's call it, or views or listens, whatever the hell you call it. Yeah, people listen to podcasts on YouTube now. That's how it goes. All right, Liss, I can find you. Which social media platform you want to promote? Your TikTok?
Noster. Just figure out Noster. It's the future. It's getting better. It's just like I even post my videos. I'll post this video on Noster. I'll probably also post that on Twitter.
Cool. Yeah. And I usually have a guest every week on my podcast, but I'm getting into the mindset now in the time of year where it's exhausting to find a guest I want to interact with. And again, I love all the guests I've had. I've had amazing guests on the Dynasty podcast. So, you and I will figure out a day, and then you'll just be like the regular in there. And this way the audio podcast will get posted same week. So if we record on my posting day for the audio is Friday. So maybe we'll try to do it closer to then, we'll do it on Wednesday or Thursday. This way it stays relevant. We'll figure it out.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week with another fantasy football podcast.